All right. What happened last time? Okay, I remember. You guys ready? Owen's in the
Uh,
darkness today.
I'll turn on my lights.
I mean, if you want to, it's fine.
Let's see my pretty mug.
How are we
There we
supposed to
go.
see the shadows of your of when you flex if you don't have your lights on?
Well, it's about the angle of the light. It
Yeah, but if
shows.
the lights off, we can't see them. Anyways, welcome everyone to another episode of the Guild of Brockheart, brought to you by AED&T. I'm Borg17, your lovely host and GM. I have Canerva Splurgen, the Man Bear, and Donnie Danger, who was flexing when you guys first saw this. We are on episode 15, and shit's about to get interesting. Well, actually, shit was just interesting.
Yeah, we just fought 6 fucking trolls.
It's been interesting.
That makes me. I'm glad to hear that. That's satisfying. For future, the end of April, we're missing 2 sessions because I'm gonna be on vacation.
Okay.
End of April. I think that's all I have for announcements.
Can't think of anything else at the moment.
Donnie Danger's been drawing a lot of stuff for the Powerless campaign. If you'd like to check it out, join my Twitter or not, join my Discord. He's been posting them all in there, and they're looking they're looking fantastic, honestly.
Been busy.
We're gonna play around, see what we can figure out with those. Anywho, yeah, I'm gonna like, subscribe, review, and comment as much as you can, or any little bit helps, and all that good stuff. You hear it all the time. I won't bore you with it anymore. So let's get to it, right? You guys ready?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Last time on the Guild of Brockheart, our adventures were in the middle of a dark cave that was actually well illuminated by Gnomeface. Yeah, he's Gnomeface in this one. Yeah, who actually used quite a bit of MP and stamina to light up the entire thing. They fought I think a total of like 6 or 7 trolls in the cave that they may or may not believe is the nest, or where they were spawning from. So they ended up just they took them out, set them all ablaze, and ended up leaving and headed on towards Ahkasai. As they reunited with the cart, with Bruce in the sleeping in the no, he wasn't sleeping in the back of this one. With Bruce in the back of the cart, there was
Not
some
Bruce Bartholomew.
No, Bartholomew is the monk who was with you.
Bruce was in the cart. He stayed back.
Oh yeah.
What better person to defend the cart than the tank?
And so there were some wonderful words and inspirational talk from Gale on how they all did well, and then tomorrow they were going to head on to Ahkasai, who was then interrupted by Colton saying that even though it is the middle of the night, they are unable to sleep where they currently are because they're in the middle of the road. So the whole group of them moved forward, and they arrived on a nice open flat plateau area that was on the side of the path that is used for camping out before the people going into the mountains or leaving the mountains, so that it's a nice safe area. They're not worried about getting attacked. I think that they still had guards mount or a guard schedule or something, but they pull up there, and they set on to sleep as it hit the middle of the night. I think, yeah. So all of them, we're gonna join them as all of them drifted off to sleep with the sound of crashing and rushing water in the distance behind them.
Wait, Did I miss something? I thought we were still in a troll full of a cave full of dead trolls.
No, you guys left at the end of the session.
I'm drawing blanks.
Though that was the start of your vacation, so you did actually have a huge couple drinks
Oh
already.
yeah. Okay, it's coming back. Yeah, we are kind of at like a running babble, off the side of a stream. We believe. We just heard it. I don't think we saw it.
Yeah, it was at the night, so you couldn't see anything, but there was a sound. There's I mean, it's not necessarily quiet, but you'll get to that. Yeah, there's a nice flat spot. I mean, there was enough of the moon to see where you were, and you all, just camped out there under the stars. And so we're gonna join you at like, I don't know if you guys, nothing happened during the night, so I don't think it's pertinent to like talk about your watch sessions. Um. Oh, one more thing is the 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 lights went out before they actually left the cave. That's just me being mean, but they had to use the goat to escape the cave because it was super dark in there. But yeah, so yeah, it's gonna. I'll say it'll probably be with the thinner air, about 9-10 o'clock as you wake up. Um, yeah, I don't think you guys had a guard set like schedule, but
It we left off before it even got to that point, so I'll just say it's been the same as it has been last time.
oh, in that case, I mean, you don't need one. You Colton would have told you that you didn't need one because it's like close enough to. I mean, it's right on the beaten path, and it's on the outside of the mountains. So like, there's been no like talks about attacks and stuff. He just said that you're in a good enough place. You don't need guards or like
Right?
a station. So
I Alright, I can see that. We're like high off of victory. Colton's very confident. I wouldn't be against everybody taking it easy, so I wouldn't pipe up.
and also you're working on like 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
So, um, any questions before we start today?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. You guys all wake up around 9 or 10. The sun is not like just cresting. It's pretty far up in there. The smell of some moist air is just blowing over you, like a nice breeze is coming over the top. And as you like start to wake up, you see that like there's a wall around, like a kind of like a 3-foot wall around the entire like plateau that you're on, and the water that you're hearing is like just on the other side of that. You don't know. None of you like slept next to the edge or anything, but like uh you all know that, like, can sense that like the water's just on the other side. And it's it has a it's very energetic, which is why like the air that's like blowing over you is very like wet and moist.
So, in terms of geography, is this still a mountain range, or is it more a series of rolling hills with high peaks?
You're at a mountain range. Picture it more like you're on the last mountain as you're leaving. Like you're the first. If someone's coming towards you, you're on the first mountain as they get to the mountain range. But you're like halfway up. So like the air that you were breathing last night was thicker than the night that you slept like in the middle of the mountains.
Crazy. Okay, well, we've been going higher.
So yeah,
All
like in terms of elevation, you would have went down since. Yeah.
right. Well, first thing I do when I wake up, before anything else, I check if Colton's up.
I mean, you could see him. He's over by the cart, chatting with the driver. They no, or not even by the cart actually. Like the driver's still like camped out, still like they probably like you surmise that they just woke up themselves.
I just catch up, small talk. I just want to know where we are, how much closer we have to go before Ahkasai.
Good morning, Gail. How was your sleep tonight? I hope it was better than last.
It was great and uninterrupted as you said it would be.
Oh, before I forget, you do get a point of exhaustion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you slept for only 5 hours the night before. Or was it this night that you slept for 5 hours?
This night, we slept without issues.
Then it was last night that you slept for
Probably.
that you slept for 5 hours, and then you had the full battle yesterday and traveling. So you would have a point of exhaustion.
What does that mean statistically?
Well, if we get to it, I don't know. Nervous Slogan, you know the real book more than I do.
In 5e, 1 point of exhaustion is disadvantage on ability checks.
That
But you can attack as normal. It's just like rolling athletics is at disadvantage, rolling stealth, that sort of thing.
it's only the first
Oh.
point. Charisma, performance checks.
Disadvantage on checks or skill checks.
But yeah, Gail, what can we do you before?
Well, we're quite high up. I thought we'd be a bit farther down, moving towards Ahkasai. So I just want to know how much closer, how much further we have to travel before we're there.
The air doesn't feel thicker to you.
Oh,
We're almost.
Meta, I thought you said we were higher up.
No, I thought I corrected you after that. No, you went down from the last place that you slept.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So you're like I said, you're leaving the mountains, so you're going back down.
Good. So Colton, how much further to Ahkasai?
This station is, or this rest area is stationed a day's travel away from Ahkasai. The issue though, I hope you guys are ready. We're gonna have to go through the desert to get there. Because once we have to go down the mountain and then pretty much a straight shot through the desert, and then we get to Ahkasai.
And you're very confident in navigating us towards Ahkasai. I wouldn't want to get lost in a desert, right?
I mean, yeah, the driver knows the way. I'm probably gonna take a nap, honestly.
Okay. Well, I think it's be best to stock up on water anyways. Since I think I hear a river in the distance.
That's no river, and you're not gonna be getting water from that.
What do you mean?
Here, I'll show you. He walks you over to the like cliff's edge, but with the wall is, and you look out. The rest of you remember this in case you look over it, because I don't want to say all of this again. As you look out over the cliff, you see a gushing waterfall that's dropping probably like, what, 30 stories tall. The water is rushing over the top, and you see the white of all the like water blasting back up in the air. And it's the river's, wedged nicely between the two mountains. As this is going, like the water is very, very fast, as waterfalls have it. But as you're looking around down there, you see like lots of greenery, lots of trees on the edge of the river, and you see the river go off into the distance into the desert. Along the inside or in the river, you see a line of ships and like look like merchant ships to you, in terms of like they're not like geared up with a lot of weapons and stuff. And as you're standing there, you actually see a giant, like a ship just floating on up in front of you, and almost like it's being levitated and floats towards the top of the waterfall.
Where did she go?
And gets placed into the water, and then the ship keeps on going. And
Okay.
meanwhile, you see another ship that's doing the opposite. It's coming from between the mountains, getting like lifted up and floating over and then lowered down into the water. Colton goes to, he's like, yeah, see, this is a raging waterfall. You're not going to be getting any water from there.
Other things, yes, I can see that. Are those floating ships normal around here?
Around here, yes. The reason why the reason why you have to pay the kingdom of Ahkasai in order to leave or take the waterway from wait, what's the city we just came from?
Quota.
The reason why you have to pay the kingdom of Ahkasai to use the river when you're traveling or when you're taking the waterway from Quotath through the mountains is precisely this reason. It's because the kingdom of Ahkasai has set up a mechanism to make ships travel safely through the water or around the waterfall. All of this is being done from workers and the city of Ahkasai, or the kingdom of Ahkasai is providing the funding for all of this.
Well, that's incredible. How do they make the ships fly, though?
He looks at you dead seriously. Magic.
Yes, that makes sense. Magic can do a lot of weird things. Yeah, I'm not
no.
gonna.
You see that? And he points at one of them. You see that little glow that's around the bottom of the ship? It's literally a magic like wrap that they summon to lift and lower ships. Like people are literally lifting the ships up in order to create passageway.
Oh, so it's a material? It's not a spell?
No, it's a spell. It just looks like you could see it as a material, but it is a spell.
Oh, interesting. So there's a mage aboard every one of those ships.
No, the
No.
mages are down there, and he points to kind of what looks like two towers on both sides of the river that are structures that are almost look like they're half floating. Like they have a base structure on the bottom. Like you see like a little it's like a dock area type of thing. And that's where like the ships are going up and down. And like but there's like a little tower that looks like it's floating above the rest of it. And he points at those. He's like, no, the mages are down there. They're the ones that are, lifting and lowering, and they have a rotational schedule so that someone is manned at all times.
Very intriguing.
And
Yeah,
he points to the top of the waterfall, and you can see like a similar structure. And he goes, likewise, there's a rotational in that structure up there. There's another set of rotational mages where they're literally handing off. They like if when they're lowering, the one up top hands it off to the mage below, and vice versa for the ones going up.
Some offers transport from Quota to Ahkasai, amongst other routes.
Wait, what?
Are we more specifically, am I close enough to hear this or no?
I mean, if when so I'm saying you all woke up around the same time. I don't know if any of you want to have just like hit the snooze button like 6 times. If you would have gotten up, so like for perspective, I don't know what you're doing initially when you wake up, but you could have seen whether or not you saw Gale go to Colton, but you probably have noticed them walking all the way across and going to the ledge. If you would have been like, hey, what are you looking at or something, you definitely would have overheard it. Where you're sitting, I'd say unless you put effort into like trying to listen to what they're saying.
No, but I don't mean to intrude on them. I just wanted to know if I was close enough to hear, because this is definitely something that would interest Gnome Face if he heard about it. But if he's not like close enough, he's not going to intrude.
You're not an over here earshot, but you are an eavesdropping earshot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm not eavesdropping, so yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
So,
So-
but yeah, so he tells you this as you guys are looking over the edge.
My last question was: this offers transport between Quoteth to Ahkasai and other locations in this region.
This is the sole reason why we can have a shipping route between Ahkasai and Quoteth. Without this, there's no other waterway passages directly between Ahkasai and Quoteth. You'd have to take the long way around.
Is there travel available for individual passengers? Out of curiosity.
They work by ship. So if you're on a ship, you can get across. What you pay depends upon if you're taking your own ship or you're boarding a ship with other people.
I was just curious because all these adventurers do have to return to Quoteth to retrieve the bounties of this quest. If any of them were interested in going to Ahkasai, I was hoping they would be familiar with a way to get there a bit more conveniently than through these mountains.
That, sir, is not up to me.
Oh, well,
But if they can find passage, that is one way they could get back to Quoteth. They probably would have to buy their way on, but yeah.
okay, fellows, everybody who's awake. Feel like there's a bit of information that could be useful to the adventuring sort. If you have time to listen.
All of you, he says it loud enough that everyone hears you.
Okay.
A couple, Bartholomew gets up and starts walking towards you to hear what you have to say, as well as a couple of the other ones, the NPCs, that is.
Spread the word. There are shipping lines between here and between Quoteth and Ahkasai. Not here to either of those. These are mountains.
Tanya says like quietly, "Yeah, we knew that already."
And I know all of you do have to return to Quoteth to receive payment for this little quest. So, if any of you fancy Ahkasai or want to return to Quoteth, quickly, maybe there is the option to get there a bit more safely than through these options. So I'm not entirely familiar with the who's and how's. Just thought it would be useful information for you adventurers.
One of your knights steps up next to you and is like, "But sir, if we don't travel back through the mountains, how do we know that the scroll situation has been taken care of? I hope you're not planning on going on a ship and taking the shortcut."
Wow, I didn't look at it in those terms. I truly thought we were done here.
He says, he responds to that like, "Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. I don't know."
You speak wise and cautiously, fellow knight. This night convoy will be heading to the mountains, and I implore all of you to join us. Though there's nothing I can do to force all of your hands. Just to ensure that this quest is well and truly finished.
Bruce like chimes up. If we take the boat, buy a way onto one of the boats and get back, do we still get paid?
Technically, yes. I think you just have to, like Meta, you just have to report that the quest is finished. Right?
That's up to you. You're the quest owner.
Meta, we were all told by the guy in Quoteth that we have to return to Quoteth to receive our goods. That includes you.
Ah, yes. So as long as we knights return safe and sound and report no problems, yes, the quest is finished.
Meta-wise, for clarification, whether or not the quest is completed depends upon the quest issuer marking it complete. I believe on your thing, you specified the escort from Quoteth to Ahkasai. And I know a couple, Tonya for sure, is taking a few more days in Ahkasai and heading back after your scheduled time of leaving Ahkasai. But all they have to do is when you report the quest being complete, is show back up and claim their reward. But they have to show back up to claim their reward. But it's all dependent upon the issuer marking it complete.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. This whole escort thing was kind of a a bit of a hodgepodge kind of thing.
I know. Mwahahaha.
Yeah, a little bit of confusion here and there.
Escort quests are the worst.
Yeah, okay, clear the air. I didn't mean to sow any confusion. I just double checked on the prospects of this quest and what needs to be done. We will all be heading back through the mountain range. And once we all get back safely in Quoth without any more troll sightings, I will feel comfortable stating that this is a complete mission, and you will all receive payment.
You see Bruce looks a little sullen at that note, and he goes, "Well, can I at least kill another troll on our way back through?"
Merrily, I would encourage you to, if we see one.
Okay, next one I call dibs.
By all means, we'll take you along next time we spot a cave.
Excellent. And you see him just kind of like holding up his sword, like, excellent.
Yeah. Happy Bruce is a good Bruce. Yeah, sorry to confuse all of you. I just thought these floating ships were very interesting. By chair.
At that point, Colton chimes up. He's like, okay, I'll elaborate on what Sir Grail was saying. If you all approach me or approach the edge, I will explain to you one of the wonderful contributions that Ahkasai has made to the world. For those of you who wish to proceed and look over the edge, he gives you the whole the thing that I explained to Gale, where he's explaining that because of Ahkasai, these stations are set up and they transport the ships up and down the waterfall, and that's why when you leave Quoth, you have to pay Ahkasai to use the river or to go to Ahkasai by river and all that stuff.
So that levitation thing only works on ships?
No, that's a spell that can work on anything. It's just they have mastered magic to a point that a lot of other cities wishes to. It's one of their main. I don't know why it's especially particular to Ahkasai, but that's the magic they utilize the most.
So hypothetically, if one wanted to and had the funds to pay for this, they could just by themselves jump off the top of that and float down, no ship or anything?
I'd suspect yes. That'd be probably a pretty hefty fine,
awesome.
but yeah, I wouldn't advise it, but you would probably be safe, yes.
Well, I mean, I imagine you'd have to pay.
Yeah, that's true.
It's harder to target one person than it is to target a whole ship.
Yeah, I'd imagine it wouldn't be as smooth.
But it would be awesome.
Just jump off the top, cannonball, and then you just get caught halfway through.
Oh, if there was ever a time for a swan dive, that would be it. Just hope your check clears, or it's going to be a heck of a belly flop.
So, yeah, all of you are amazed by this because this is something that none of you has experienced, and you, whether it's the boats or if it's the floating like building within a building, or if it's just the lush greenery that's on the ground next to it, like it looks It's just very, very beautiful.
It is quite the sight. And that was very informative, Colton. Thank you. Previously,
And
you
then
did
Colton
mention
walks away.
previously you did mention a desert. I walk with him. How alert should we be? I was only aware of trolls being a danger on this route. Are there any other dangers we should be aware of?
Were you asking Colton?
Yeah, I was kind of role playing me catching up to him and
Oh, okay.
speaking up for me.
He goes, well, as long as we, as long as we stick to the river, we should be fine. It's the river's monitored by guards and everything, so there's not really much going on there. If you go off on your own, you usually face dehydration first. Then some random animal will pick you apart, or whether it's bird or four-legged or six-legged.
All right. Though dangers don't seem likely, we will be sure to make sure that you are covered, me and my 2 knights here.
Like I told you, as soon as we hit the desert, I'm pretty much right in the caravan.
Good.
I only had to guide you through the mountains. Wouldn't
feel
want
much
you to
more-
have fallen off at a, dead end.
Definitely feel much more comfortable with you in the caravan, since we would be lost in a desert if anything happened.
Oh, I don't have maps for the desert. I left those back there, back in Quota.
But it's all up here, right? And I point at my head, kind of like it's in your head, right?
Yeah. Also, he
Okay.
knows, and he points over to the driver of the caravan. Okay, Gail. Let me say it one more time. If you walk and you keep you an arm's length distance from the river the entire time, you will walk into Ahkasai.
Just making sure we have all the bases covered, redundancies and all. The proper
It,
knight doesn't leave anything to chance.
if all else fails, this river goes right through Ahkasai, so if you felt too lazy, you could just fall in and float your way down there.
Okay. Well, with all
mean,
that said,
Depending on how bad the weather in the desert is, that might not be a bad idea.
yeah. Well, we'll see. That's one thing that can't be accounted
how
for.
how young is Willem or Wilhelm? Is he young enough for a swim? He's going with the current, technically.
Yeah, I mean he's I don't know, just before middle aged.
Oh, okay.
However old
Yeah.
that is for goat. He's not elderly by any means, but he's no spring chicken.
He's
Oh,
in
yeah.
his
He's a
prime.
goat.
He's got that old man strength.
He
but
could swim the
ain't-
whole way. He'd probably float half the way and just.
Well,
I mean, who doesn't love a lazy river?
Exactly.
those are the best.
Well, you guys catch up the man. I'm gonna use the bathroom and get a drink.
Well, I am quite reassured by Colton's confidence in well, how safe traversal is going to be on the way to Ahkasai, so I don't think any other precautions are necessary. Mostly what I was wondering about, like desert bandits and whatnot, but he seems pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, but comfort always ends up with us getting punched in the face.
Yeah. Colton's been right so far. I feel like if this driver had any disagreements, he'd have said something too.
Maybe.
Either way, we're not going to be any less alert than we were on these mountains. There's only so many things you can do to prepare on an open field, so
Hmm.
not a lot you can actually account for planning wise. We'll probably walk the same way we have been around the caravan. Only difference is Colton is going to be inside at this time. We'll be just as prepared for an ambush as we always have.
Hmm.
And with that, I'm going to go use the bathroom and get a beer. I won't be long.
Yes, you will.
And then there were two. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of threats. This river seems to be like the main artery of trade for this city. I don't think they're
Yeah,
going to
but the
let
main artery of
bandits.
trade is always plagued with bandits.
Well, I mean, just outside of where the guards are. I mean, they said that this is heavily guarded. And again, yeah, I see your point.
So the man or Numbface. Now that you heard all the magic that Ahkasai has brought to the river, were you gonna do something?
I was more so just curious, and now that he explained it to me and he's actually was talking to me, I'm fine with it. I plan on trying to figure out as many of their enchantments as I can. Hi, bud. What, bud?
Right. If nobody else has anything they want to do, I'm pretty confident, beginning our expedition
Not on the
across
bed.
the desert towards Ahkasai.
It sounds like the biggest threat to me is going to be finding an interesting plant and wandering off.
I don't think that's gonna be a lot.
Yeah. Oh well. While we travel, if it is boring, I have a book to read. I think.
What book?
You
What
probably
is
do.
it called?
Probably have one that I have yet to give you.
Oh, that did
Well,
what? I
Um,
could
Uh,
run
if
backwards.
anything, fellas, just stay close. Be aware of where the caravan is all times. See your fellow man. Make sure nobody's somewhere where they can pass out with nobody seeing. Not that I think that's going to happen.
as you're calling for people to start getting ready and go, a couple of them were like, hey, can we just wait a little bit? There is actually very refreshing, and we've been essentially they're feeling like drained after the last 2 days. I mean, you have been in very thin air for.
I have no objections. If none of you are in a rush to get to
Andy's.
Ahkasai, we can stay here for a while longer. There are no
I'm in a
time
rush to get to Ahkasai.
restraints.
I said I'm in a rush to get to Ahkasai. They've got new magic, nifty magic.
Very well then, since I have no preference, we can leave it up to a vote between you adventurers. All in favor of heading to Ahkasai now? Say
I
aye. All in favor of staying here and resting for a few hours or even a day? Say aye.
I know Tanya and Bartholomew raised their hand. Bruce is like, eh. And Tanya's like, well, maybe not a day, but at least like 2 more hours. Can we? Like, I don't care if we get to Ahkasai late. Just we're in a nice. I know the desert's coming up, and that's going to be rough all in itself.
Very well.
I kind of I see I'm beaten, so I just kind of go, oh, okay, fine, and I just go sit by the carriage and crack open my book on enchantment.
I read my knight's handbook.
I mean, the spray from this waterfall is probably the closest thing any of us have had to a shower in a while.
If
So
anybody
it
wants
probably
to,
feels all right.
okay. If anybody wants to venture away from the camp, just use the buddy system. That's all I'll say.
I mean, you're either headed towards the desert or into the mountains. So take your pick. um, actually, Sven, what are you doing?
I figure Wilhelm and I are gonna go and just watch the waterfall, watch ships go up and down.
What's your wisdom?
Oh, that feels like a trap. 20.
Some checks are pretty harmless.
Okay, roll a wisdom check. If you get above a 10, something catches your eye. A plant catches your eye.
A 9.
Well, you could roll it like if you stay there, you can roll like 2 more times. If you plan to stay there for 3 hours or 2 hours.
Yeah, I probably would.
Well, I mean, yeah. So
A 7 and a 6. Not my day.
You're getting them out of the way already. Wait, you roll d10s.
You know what? I did. My real life wisdom's tanking, I guess. Let me try that again.
I say a d20 plus 5. Yeah.
That's 19.
You see a interesting plant that's like, it's like not over the cliff. It's like, I mean, it is, but like it's down off to the side, but it looks like there's like a steep kind of path with lots of greenery. Like you have an inclination that you could climb down there to get to it if you so chose to.
And I could climb down near this cliff face that has been slicked with waterfall spray.
I'm saying like there's plenty of like plants and like roots and stuff that like you would feel safe if you decide to climb down towards it. But it looks like a very unique plant.
Well, there's two ways this can go. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it.
Could always for a buddy to watch you.
Well, yeah, my buddy was Wilhelm.
There you
That's the
go.
buddy system.
I don't know
I'm
how
sure
good
he'll holler if something happens.
I don't know how good he is at fetch. I mean, but a mountain goat would have like plus 10 to that like athletics check.
I know him too well to ask him to do that. He's just gonna eat it again. I've gotta do this solo.
All right.
Again. Well,
Oh,
So
it happened all the time before I figured out that I just couldn't trust him.
so you go around to like this side and you see where like the wall stops or like it dwindles down because like the ground's not a cliff anymore, and you follow along the wall, and as it gets a little steeper, you you brace yourself with like the roots and that are around you, and they're like you find a good amount that are like sturdy, and you kind of like are using those as support and lower yourself down, and you grab like two of these plants that are like right next to each other. um they are to be named later, and they're two plants that grow in very moist and rocky terrain. Moist climate, rocky terrain. All right, wait,
Okay.
how is it? Like humid? I guess this would be humid. Yeah, humid, like cooler, rocky, I would say. So mark that down. We'll figure out what it is later, but like,
And just for my own information, did Colton say how much the fine was if you fell down this?
he did not specify.
More than I can afford. Okay. Am I able to make it back safely?
Yeah, I mean, you just like
Okay.
turn over and grab the plants and pull yourself up. Try not to damage any of them, but like, but yeah. In the meantime, everyone like the gnome face is reading his book in the back of the caravan. Bruce is kind of like spinning on his shield and just trying different things, juggling it almost, just trying new stuff.
Bruce makes me think of the radical hunk. He's going to use that shield as a skateboard.
He might, who knows. Bartholomew's kind of like flipping around using his bow staff, like just doing different athletic checks to try to like do stuff. The knights are like sparring. You guys are just kind of like enjoying yourself. It looks like Tonya's kind of just like sitting in the grass off to the side, just relaxing. Yeah, you all are taking a breather and just relaxing, and yeah, then it hits about noon when you should start going.
All right. I close my Knight's Handbook. I say, well, that's it, fellas. Anybody want to stay any longer, or are we all ready to head out?
You hear a bunch of like chipper responses, like, "Oh yeah, we're good to go."
All right, Colton, driver, I believe it's time we start moving. Mosey on out, fellas.
All right.
All right, so your travel starts with, not too steep, but a decline, a steeper decline of the mountain. It's not necessarily rocky, as this part's well traveled. It's not even straight. It kind of weaves back and forth with the mountain. But as you're making your way from the rest area down, you definitely feel the change of climate. Like it went from like a thinner, moist air, like a really like refreshing and like cooler like temperature, to it's starting to get really hot, really dry. Even like a breeze that's coming just feels like warmth in your face. And so it's a transition between the two different climates as you're going down, and you reach the bottom of what would be the mountain range. And
Is this like a quick magical transition or a slow natural transition?
no, this is more of a slow natural transition.
Okay.
So like yeah. Then once you hit the bottom, you start feeling like the wind coming across, and like the dirt or the ground below you has now officially like converted from like dirt to sand, impact sand. And it's kind of surprising on how like you're in the mountains and it's dirty, and or like it's soil and dirt, and like at the base it's just sand type of stuff. um it's kind of like a clear, like this is where the desert starts, and then it's just a mixture at the base of the mountains. But yeah, so you guys have a path in front of you. I don't know who's in front of the caravan and who's behind. At this point, Colton chimes in, or goes, well, Sir Gale, this is the point that I'm gonna hop in the caravan. If you need me, feel free to holler.
Hopefully, we don't need you much. Let's hope for a clear shot to Ahkasai.
All right, driver, you know the way. I'll come up and join you in a little bit. And Colton jumps in the caravan to do whatever he feels like doing. So yeah, you guys start making your way forward along the path that's in front of you. There's a signpost that points one towards the direction you're going, one back where you came from, and left and right. And you can tell by this area, it's like well traveled. You can see one path headed like following the mount, like the edge of the mountain range, and then one with a bridge going over the river and headed the other way along the mountains, and then the one forward that's following adjacent to the river, and the other one that's headed into the mountains. So the caravan proceeds to move forward on the edge of the river, and at this point you see, like, you travel like a half an hour, and at this point a lot of you realize like how how important this passageway is, as you got to the bottom of the mountain. There's a orderly line of cargo ships, or merchant ships, and you guys have traveled for probably like an hour, and that line is still here. Like it's just a constant line of ships that are waiting to go towards Quoth, or towards the way you came. Yeah, so you all make that knowledge, and
Okay.
yeah, it's a ways. You guys are pretty much, I'd say, what, 20 to 30 feet away from the river bank. obviously it's deep enough to, it's wide enough and deep enough to hold 2 ships passing side by side, well, one in each direction. And deep enough that like there's some smaller ships, but there's mostly like larger ships that can't be surprised. Gnome face for you, like they're about like the biggest ship that you see are like the one of them that you saw that you fought while you're on the ocean. Like you
I
saw
see one of the ships I actually spot.
no the size of it is
Oh, okay.
equivalent to one. You saw like one of that size, but all the other ones are smaller. I mean, it's like a river.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's a lot. That's all. That's the
Okay.
river is holding a lot of ships.
Busy.
So
I'm looking at it, but I'm also looking ahead. I don't have much to comment on.
I just paused to take a drink. So
Okay.
yeah. So as that's going, not much is all happening. You see like, I mean, like tumbleweed. Like it's breezy here. It's just warm air just moving, or hot air, I should say, just moving around. So you guys are you get thirsty kind of quickly. So you're like constantly drinking, or sipping from your flasks or water skins, and yeah, it hits a point where you all feel pretty drained just from being in the sunlight and walking in the dry air for so long. I'd say you've been walking for like probably 5 hours in the desert now, so it'd be like 5 or 6 p.m. Well, if you left at noon,
Okay.
it'd probably be like 6 or 7, 6 to 8, somewhere in that range. Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
I asked the driver, are there any intersections or convenient pit stops between here and Ahkasai?
He looks at he chimes up as you guys are walking. He's like, "Well, not really. I mean, there's plenty of spots that you could just stop off and rest, but you're not necessarily doing yourself any good because like the sooner we get to Ahkasai, the sooner we're out of the sun, or sooner out of this climate."
I'm just asking is I'm getting a bit hot, but it's not dignified to complain. So we'll continue.
I'm good with keeping going.
He looks at you. He's like, "Well, Sir Knight, if you're getting a little too hot, feel free to jump in. The bank's low enough or like gradual enough that you can climb in and out, but I wouldn't
Thought we got
necessarily."
fine if we get in the river.
Huh?
I thought we got fined if we get in the river.
Oh, you got fined if you like jumped off the waterfall.
Oh, okay.
I say,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Um, he tells you like if you want, you can get in the river. I don't know if you'll travel faster or slower than us, but I'd like to keep a consistent pace. The consistent pace we've been going.
I too, and that's a fair suggestion. I just say to everybody, if anybody's feeling particularly tapped, just take a minute or two, or a few, to rest in the wagon. We can take turns in there until we hit Ahkasai.
I have an idea that is both kind of prank and kind of make amends. If you let me do it, DM.
Okay, you just have to specify if you're in front or behind the caravan.
I'm in the caravan. I've been in the caravan. I'm usually in the caravan because I'm so small nobody notices, so I just sit in the caravan.
Okay. Because I know Gail's in front, so
yeah, I'm in the caravan usually. What I want to do is cast create water elemental and summon a water elemental from the river and have it follow Gale with its wet appendage just sitting on the back of his neck.
Initially,
what
when
He
I
can choose
appendage?
to react however he wishes, but that's my goal.
What appendage are you talking about?
Like its arm.
Okay, thank you for specifying.
Nah, I wasn't trying to be perverted. Ultimately, it's kind of pranky, which fits Gnome Face really well, and it's also kind of a mensy because Gnome Face does feel bad that he created a whole big fluster. He doesn't feel bad that he scared Gale. He feels bad that, it became something more than just a harmless prank.
Okay, so you
Um,
overhear. I'll put it like this way, and correct me if you disagree. You overhear the talk while you're sitting in the caravan. You overhear the talk between Gale and the driver on how Gale is feeling a bit parched and overheated. I mean, he's not wearing full plate mail. Never mind. For being shirtless in a desert. And he starts to return to the front of the line, and as you do so, you see the river, and because he decided not to go towards the river, you're like, I'll bring the river to him, and you all of a sudden like you like wave your hand and say what you have to say, and your water elemental just like crawl like on all fours, climbs up the side of like the embankment out of the water and the kind of just like walks up and just plops his arm on the side of Gale as Gale gets to the front of the line.
essentially, yes. Without saying a word to him, I just wanted to kind of like, almost like a bro over the shoulder.
All right. Okay, Gale. So you get to the front of the line after having the conversation with the driver, and you feel a weight get placed over your arm. You are familiar with it, from your trainings and or what you think are your trainings and everything from your time at the Knights. Like, it feels like someone, like a bro, like side hug, like, hey, how's it going, man? But it's very wet and very cold.
Okay. My first initial response is a bit of surprise. My eyes widen, my fist clenches. But quickly I realize this feels good. I look over and I see, I'm not alarmed because I'm surrounded by allies. Somebody would have said something if something dangerous was happening. I look and I see this water elemental.
You see a humanoid shape with no Wait, is it a humanoid?
We haven't really been too specific about it. I always picture it as like the old school Warcraft elementals. Kind of no feet. It's got arms.
Hang on.
It's got kind of a head.
I always imagine it looking like Chaos from Sonic the Hedgehog.
I don't actually know what that looks like.
Just kind of like this weird humanoid blob of water.
Okay, the Warcraft elemental shape is kind of what I was picturing. Something like more like orky, like bulky, just small head, big body, big limbs type of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of the image I've been going off. Okay. Yeah. So
That's
that
what
type
I've
shape.
been using.
Like, okay, so Gale, you kind of look and you have to like look if you're looking at the head, you're looking upward. There's no real face. You do see like a shadow of like where like eyes and mouth necessarily would be. So it has a little bit of expression, you think. But like it looks like a blank face and it just looks like swirling water.
I'm a little familiar with this since I've been pranked before, and I'm not new to this whole,
I've used my water elementals in camp before too.
Yeah, so I've seen it. I know what this is.
Have you
And
been awake while he used it though? The only time I remember
I
is when
had
he
first guard, and I had first guard, and I summoned it before everybody went to bed and took my guard, so
Oh, okay.
they weren't asleep when I summoned it.
Okay, I thought the only time was when you summoned it and woke him up with it.
There was also
Well,
when they
that's
first
the
met.
same thing. I used it to wake him up, but I was still first on for that night.
Oh, okay. Sorry, what did you say, Sven?
Also, when they first met, conjured it out of a glass of water in that office.
yeah,
True,
Oh, yep,
I did
that's true.
because he called me short.
very solid recollection.
Okay, yeah, you do recognize that it's something that you've seen a person with you as someone
The
before.
worst this thing has ever done to me is wake me up abruptly, but right now I welcome it.
Okay, sorry.
Right now I welcome it, but knowing who must have cast it, I am wary, and I kind of just glare at No Face's direction, but I don't say anything.
I ignore him. I ignore his glare and, just kind of let the creature walk by him. Some magic training while I read and ride.
kind of just grimace and nod my head and be like, very well.
The big meat,
Plain.
right?
It feels quite nice.
Naruto.
But yeah, fellas,
What
anybody,
is that? Spider?
I did tell
Mhm.
everybody around us,
Is that
take
gonna
turns riding in the wagon. If you guys are feeling
move?
not so great right now.
Wait, was that
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you do that. Um, I don't know if you try to assess your fellow group, but like a couple of the knights go up to a water elemental and kind of like, hey, can you just splash a little on me? Just a little bit, just a little. I mean, you're walking around, with the, scarf on your head, fluffy pants and some shoes, and your fellow knights are in full plate mail helmets right behind you. So,
Hey, fellas, everybody, come get some. I'm sure there's plenty to go around.
but yeah, you guys keep walking. I don't know how long the elemental is before it just like falls apart, or you have them crawl back to the water. Um,
We haven't really discussed a length of time that it lasts. Usually it's just until it takes damage. It doesn't have much for HP due to being a very simple cast right now, but I don't really use it for combat, more for utility.
nah, I mean usually like an hour. I thought we've done it.
Sure.
But yeah, you like it dispels as the sun is going down. So like no longer like the sun's no longer beating down heavily on you anymore, and you all start to feel like the temperatures start to dwindle ever so slightly. Um, and then Gail, the driver actually calls to you and it's like, uh, hold on, I have to stop for a second. And he brings the caravan to a halt.
I waste no time approaching the driver. What's the problem?
Can you go in the caravan and grab my tunic?
Very well. This isn't that big of a deal, so I grab it for him and I bring it to him.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to get down. All right, I'm ready. He throws it on. He's like, all right, I'm ready to go.
Right? Please continue.
Well, you're the leader, and you're standing in front of the caravan.
Oh, I move out of the way.
All right, so he tells you that, and you will go back into position, and you start walking, and after like another like 2 hours, the sun is far gone. You just see the moonlight, and um, the air is surprisingly crisp.
For a desert. Wow.
I mean, sure.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm surprised. I expect it to be arid and dry this whole way.
I mean, I didn't say it wasn't arid and dry. It's just crisp. Starting to get
Okay.
cold.
Not sure what that means now.
Any of you who have jackets feel the urge to put them on as you spend an hour and the temperature just feels like it's dropping.
Oh, you meant crisp as in cold, not refreshing. Okay.
Crisp, like it has a bite to it, like
Okay.
a sharpness to it, which is weird to say, but like I feel like you know what I
Spicy
mean.
air.
Yeah. So Tonya throws on a jacket. Bartholomew pulls it out of his bag and throws on like a shawl.
By now, the water elemental has been dispelled.
Yeah, he's gone like 2 hours ago.
Okay, good.
He may have been dispelled, but you're still all wet.
That is very true. It didn't get dispelled until after the sun went down.
So I at least
As
have
the
some
sun went down.
Do I at least have some rags on me? I don't explicitly have them in my inventory.
The ones you're wearing.
Okay. I try to dry off my exposed skin using my tunic.
Even if you dry everything off, even if you take off your pants and try to dry yourself off, you'd still have damp skin.
Sucks. Once it becomes very inconvenient, I go inside the caravan.
Okay.
And who else is in there with me? Colton? Anybody else?
Well, I haven't got to the point where you try to get in the caravan yet.
Okay, well that's what I tried to do.
So yeah, I'd say it's about like 10:30. I'd say probably like 10 o'clock. Yeah, between 10 and 10:30, it gets pretty cold and you're starting to kind of shiver. Everyone else, I mean, the knights are fine. Their full plate mail is kind of insulating them. Everyone else has like bundled up a little bit. They're still walking, and you're shivering. Like it's you didn't think you were taking a stroll through like I was gonna say the Arctic, but like you didn't think you were gonna hit snow at all. But like yeah, it's cold. So since you don't really have anything to um dry off with and cover yourself up, you approach the caravan and to jump inside. Well, Colton and Gnomeface are currently in there.
Try not to immediately engage Gnome Face. I'm sure he has some sort of convenient spell for this. But I asked Colton, do you have any rags or towels on you? Something I might adorn myself with for the moment before we reach Ahkasai.
Um, I don't think so. The only thing we really have are like the leather, um, leather throat or leather sheets that we used for the enclosure. That's in the back.
Hmm. No, we'd have to stop the caravan to get to that, wouldn't we? We don't have time for that.
Well, I mean, it's there. If you walk along with it, probably could grab it. I don't know like how it would help you if you're too wet.
Hold on. Give me one moment. And I step outside the caravan and walk, a safe distance away from it. And I use my skill, imbue body, and I imbue my body with flame for a few seconds, few moments.
Your skin just like it courses over you as a wave from like forget where it's centered from, but like from your chest, it just starts going over one shoulder and wrapping around and coming back the other side, and your entire body turns from the nice like fleshy skin to what looks like magma rock.
Yes.
You do hear like the singe of like any moisture that was on you is now off of you.
Oh, yes, excellent. Ooh, I breathe in, I breathe out, and I dispel my modifiability.
No,
And I
after like a turn's worth or whatever, you do dispel it. So you're now dry, but you're also still cold.
Yes, I'm gonna go reach for those sheets and cloths that Colton was mentioning. Drape myself in one of those for the remainder of this trek.
There's no real sheets or cloths unless I don't know if sleeping bags are thing. The only thing he mentioned was the leather tarps that they had that they used as part of the enclosure.
Well, then I'm just gonna try and tough it out. We shouldn't be too far away from Ahkasai at this point, anyways. We've been going all night.
Yeah, he did say that you'd get there by the end of your day's travel. Not necessarily end of the day,
So
you left late.
this might not be fun, but I've been through worse, I'm sure. So I'm just gonna try and bite my lip and tough out this cold for a few moments longer.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you do that. As you're still walking, and as you're going about, you do get really cold. And you're just shivering, but you're showing up for yourself and making sure everyone else knows that, like, hey, I'm not cold. You put on the presentation.
Yeah, trying to put on a tough show.
And one of your knights actually like comes up next to you and like points off in the distance, like, hey, what is that? Oh, in the distance.
Shivering, I turn my head towards what he's looking.
It's straight ahead.
Oh, I squint my eyes at what he's looking.
It looks like this, I mean, it's pretty much a town in or city in the very distance where like you can start to see civilization.
I put my fist in the air. There it is, fellas. I see it now. I pat the knight on the shoulder. Good eye.
So yeah, you guys start walking, or you keep walking for like I'd say like 5 minutes after he pointed it out. The driver calls out to all y'all. He's like, hey everyone, good news! I can see Ahkasai from here, and everyone feels a little like, ooh, yay! Gnome Face, I don't know if you've taken a nap yet or not.
Um, honestly, I've just been relaxing in the convoy, so I haven't really felt the need to sleep.
I I was just saying you're sitting in the caravan and sun went down and everything, so like sure
Mhm.
no one would notice. Colton is probably taking a couple naps by
No,
now.
probably.
Yeah.
I'm
So
also I may be a bit of a prankster, but I'm also a hardened adventurer. Going to sleep on the trail isn't really something I would do.
okay. I didn't know. But yeah, you do hear him say like Aksai in the distance. So you're already aware of
Mm.
that. But yeah. Everyone feels a little more gleeful and motivated because like, hey, the end is in sight now.
Not gonna
Um,
be walking forever.
it was feeling like that. So yeah, you guys all just keep making your way forward, and the city gets bigger and bigger. Um, Nothing really happens as Colton informed you, and you get to like the edge of what looks like it used to be like civilization, where like there's outskirts. At this point, it'd be the outskirts. Like you have different, maybe like some farms and houses, like cottages out here, where it looks like it's just working people that don't want to, that aren't living in the city. Um, so you start to see like civilization of that nature, and the city is well in front of you. It's it's a lot more massive than when you first saw both in height and in width. Um, and the river literally goes straight through into the heart of Ahkasai.
Is it like a bit of a fantasy medieval Las Vegas?
A bit, yeah,
Hmm. Nice.
but taller.
but bigger.
But taller than Vegas?
Think of like Vegas, but quadruple the height of it.
Jesus.
Um,
And the buildings are all lit up.
I'll get to that. Yeah, so the caravan kind of stops and is like, all right, everyone, this is we're stopping here momentarily because this is a site that most people only get to see every once in a while. But I give you Ahkasai. And everyone gathers around the side of the caravan. If they were in the back, gnome face, maybe you stick your head out the window. Um, but yeah, in front of you, there is a like tall wall going around the entire thing. You see a big like uh, curved opening where the river just flows right in. Well, I guess the ships are there too. So like the walls kind of like as ships go in and out, the walls kind of like slide to the like open like barn doors and close behind it. And this is just the base level. You see a whole lot of lights behind it. Like it's a very active town from the bottom. But then you start to look up as you're like, okay, I saw that part, and like, okay, it's got guards, got protection. You start to look up, and it looks like there's a second level above it, just like floating above the base level. Like you can see what looks almost like a platform of nature's, but like it's not in one solid like disc. It's kind of like broken and like it picture like a plate that you dropped on the ground and you try to put it back together.
Shards of floating mass.
Yeah, something like that. And they have like different connections, not like a standard like rope and wood bridge, but like you see you see a transit back and forth between of the um each of the like fragments or shards. But like from this direction, you only see like the lights passing back and forth, so you're assuming it's something of transit of that nature. But once again, like the entire thing is like this entire part. It's like a certain level. They're all pretty much together at that same level, but it's like it's floating above the base level. And you look up, and there's a similar thing, except this time the Y level, the height is not. There's more of a range between the different shards, and then you get to the top, and there's a lot, or the fourth level, and there's a lot fewer shards. Um, and there's not so much travel, like not so many lights going back and forth between the shards, but more up and down from the shards below to the shards above. So you can tell like there's a lot of movement going around from the lower ones, and there's movement going top to bottom, and then all except the top, there's movement going between the different shards, and none of you have seen anything like this before, and none of you know exactly how this is possible. You all are um like stunned
Okay.
on seeing like four plat or four different or three different floating like cities. So
Ooh. Trolls, weak to fire, floating cities. I'm going to have to pay more attention towards the briefings to any knights traveling outside Brockhart's walls. This is pretty insane.
Yeah, I'm definitely like salivating a little bit as I look at the just onslaught of the magical potential of this world.
yeah, and as you're looking, like you see life on all of them. Like the lights, there's like a whole bunch of them, like all of them are lit up. There's lights flickering, like traveling back and forth. You're assuming it's like some sort of transit. But yeah. So the driver goes, yeah, so, or wait, what did you say? He goes, this is Ahkasai, where your imagination is just the limits of your imagination, or your imagination is only limited to the amount of magic you can produce. That's the way
Well,
I was. So he,
very intriguing.
and he goes, whenever you guys are done taking this all in, we can get going. We're about half an hour travel out.
Yes. Though right now, I fear my imagination doesn't go much further than finding lodging. I mutter to myself and shiver.
Yes, you're definitely still cold. But yeah, I mean, as you get closer to the city, like the city itself, like it's not as an arid, dry wasteland like the rest of the desert. I mean, like they have irrigation and stuff like that. So like the ground has absorbed a lot more heat than sand does, where sand just kind of lets it go right away. You can tell it's more like soil where they're growing crops and that retains heat a lot better. But yeah, you guys are, keep going, and you approach the city walls. You pass plenty of farms, plenty of cottages on the outside. Um, I actually did grab one thing. I couldn't find a map that of what I was like picturing, but I did find this one, which worked as the first level of Ahkasai.
All right, that
They
ain't
put a
too bad.
sphinx and a pyramid in here for just bullshit reasons, but um, well, I was actually gonna do. There should be a no a river. It's like going here and then like it's leaving over here. But yeah, um, you guys end up approaching the gate, and the the guard, stop, like the driver stops on his own because I mean, if you haven't been aware yet, he's been here a couple times, and the guards come out and approach him, and he's like, "Hello, sir. I have Sir Gale from Brockheart, who is traveling under the authority of the
On
king,
the jump,
or
or
Khan the Giant from uh Quotith.
photo.
Yes, words. Names that I made up, but I still can't remember. Um we are here for a couple days, and if we have our papers, and he shows the whatever it is to say like, yep, they sent us here. And so the guy's like, all right, very well, and I hope you all enjoy your time at Ahkasai. He says to you all as you walk into the walls. And yeah, if you were amazed by like the amount of magic that was outside, you walk in, and there's not so much like an entire city platforms being levitating. Most of the houses look like they should not be standing.
Yes, everything here is quite baffling.
Like the worst looking house looks like the Weasley house from Harry Potter. We're like, based on all sorts of physics, it should not still be standing, but somehow it is. Some of
Um,
them have like entire like towers that are just segmented, just because, I guess. But like they they're floating. Yeah, it's just
that is pretty wild. But I asked the person guiding us into the city, or whoever's manning the gate. I'm just like, yes, city of wild dreams, and I shiver. Would you
oh,
mind
you're no
pointing?
longer cold by now.
Would you mind pointing us all towards the nearest lodgings, the ones most convenient for traveling adventures?
You're talking to the driver?
The person who was speaking to us. Oh, was that the driver speaking to us?
No, that was the guard.
Yeah,
Lastly,
I'm just asking the guard where are the nearest lodgings for travelers.
well, the driver does chime up and is like, "Well, I mean, that's where we're headed first, as it is like the middle of the night. But meta-wise, you're no longer cold. As you got closer to the city, like the the amount of heat that was absorbed by the ground has warmed up the air. So like where it was 30 degrees in the desert, it's actually like a nice temperate 60 degrees here.
Ah, okay,
So
okay.
you
Ooh,
started to thaw out like about a half hour ago. After you guys stopped and like sat in amazement.
feel much better.
Um, but honestly, that's besides you guys being amazed by the magic and just having your minds go wild by something that you none of you have seen before. This that's all I had for tonight. We can join you guys next time as you guys settle in as you guys wait. I'll just say it like you guys make it to the inn with no problems. You all have your own room. This one was covered by Cordith,
Okay.
the driver,
Well,
or Colton, chimes up and pays for it and everything. So you all have lodging for the night, and you are on the first level. Uh, Gale definitely has to get to like the third or fourth level for his own purpose. But you guys can all deal with planning on for headed back and not next time. So come with ideas. Let me know of some of them ahead of time so I can plan for it. But yeah,
Mhm.
I hope you all enjoyed this session of them traveling through the desert and the mysterious sections or mysterious glances at Ahkasai. And I have had a great time trying to imagine the city, and I've just got to put it all down on words. But yeah, so if you
Okay.
enjoyed it, everyone else, yeah, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And join us next time as we get together with everyone else and have them explore the wonderful city, floating city in some cases, of Ahkasai.
yeah.
Any other
Wow.
questions
Sounds fun.
from all y'all?
No.
Uh, no, I don't think I have any.
I mean, first thing I'm gonna do is when I get to that lodging is I'm gonna take a nibble of one of those plants I got. So
That's a good. That's
see
a good
what
plan.
that does.
But
Kind of giving me gold saucer vibes, like Final Fantasy VII.
kind of, yeah, actually,
But yeah, I mean,
I'd say
like
that'd
for
be
the
more
most
like the third level. But like, I guess if in terms of Final Fantasy VII, picture it as Midgar for the first two levels,
part.
Golden Saucer for the third level, and then um I guess that like the first city you go to after you leave Midgar, but floating on top of this Golden Saucer.
Don't remember that one. I haven't played the original for so long.
Oh yeah, it's the one that where you actually learn where Cloud came from.
Ah,
It's literally the first town or first city or town you go to. After it's before Tifa went to Midgar and everything. Yeah,
like Nibelheim.
something like that. But all right,
Yeah, cool.
Manbear, your turn. Any last words for this session?
Besides comment, like, and subscribe, you should also comment if you don't like things. Let us know. We're always up for criticism. We're not the type that's going to yell at you for it.
I'll yell first, but then thank you afterwards.
Yeah, no, we're open to it. Bring it.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, on that note, see y'all later and have a good one.
Yep.